The grimmer parts of Hackney have more than their fair share of shootings and stabbings. There's even one stretch that's been dubbed the Murder Mile, but there are positive things to come out of this part of London too. Pedro's Youth and Community Club being one of them. It's been winning over young hearts and minds with a magic mix of sport, music and art for years. And it's just about to launch its own radio station. Linford Christie paid them a visit.
The level of gun crime that is reported, let alone all the stuff that goes unreported around here, is alarming to say the least. Much of it appears to be either drug or gang related. It developed into postcode violence and has now got to the point where gangs from neighbouring estates will even shoot each other.
Pedro is situated smack bang in the middle of 3 of those estates. But upon arriving here, 2 things that really surprised me. One being the sound of bagpipes, but more of those later. And the second being the amount of activities that are available here for both young and old.
You're all I need, every breath you breathe through me.
Pedro's was formed in 1929 by Baroness Harwood, and in the 60s, so glamorous did it become that one of her good friends, a certain Elizabeth Taylor, became its patron. It's one of London's oldest remaining youth clubs, but several years ago, it nearly closed until its guardian angel, ex-European middleweight boxing champion James Cook, stepped in and started a boxing club on the premises.
I've coached a few, champion and stuff like that. I decided, there's a lot of young people out there got nothing to do. Now we've got about 40 young people and the kids who want to box, who want to learn the respect and manners and the attitude out of the gym.
I run a program myself, similar, called Street Athletics. And we try to engage kids through sport, because I'm trying to teach them the discipline they learn from doing the sport, makes them learn better at school, behave better, and have that kind of respect.
That's right. They need face-to-face. They need people who they can relate to. Like myself, you, and whoever else is doing the job. They need people actually down there who can speak to them. When they come in here, the first thing they'll be using is hello, excuse me, sorry. 3 simple things kids don't use no more. I show them how to respect other people, how to respect their stuff, respect what they have inside the place. And when they go home, they know they have to respect what they've got here. When they go out, they will learn how to respect other things and the people them outside there.
If we didn't have Pedro, we'd be outside doing not much. So I think that Pedro gives us something to do, and it's a way of getting together. Like, everyone's just coming together. Some people's downstairs making beats, some people's upstairs playing pool.
People do boxing upstairs now.
It's been a long while I've been coming to Pedro, so it's something to do. It's like keeping us off the streets.
I'm making sure we don't do no crimes or...
Because of the notoriety attached to this postcode, it would be easy for an outsider to keep well away. But not Patrick Sands, a bagpipe-playing mortgage broker who was once a paratrooper and now works as a volunteer at the club, raising money to keep the place going.
Oh,
Linford.
Patrick, you're playing your bagpipes. I mean, it's definitely not the norm here. You should be a little bit worried or a bit scared. I mean, you're not.
About from whom?
Well, from, the kids in the area, everyone,
Well, Linford, I've jumped out of aeroplanes. Nothing frightens me. Right? If you jumped out of an RAF aeroplane, nothing frightens you. Let me tell you that now, right? And honestly, coming here, I didn't have a worry of any of the kids.
There's murders and muggings and all that kind of things in the area. But is that the real problem? And if not, what is the real problem that you find around here?
The problem at the moment is the fact that the kids from about 11 or 12 have disengaged from the system, if you like, because the system has left them behind. They don't see the value in getting O-levels and getting qualifications, because the way they look at it is there's not going to be a job at the end of it. We can't say to people here we're going to organise numeracy classes and literacy classes, because no one will come, because they don't want to admit that they can't read or they can't write properly. So what we say is come and learn something else that you can do, whether it's painting or whether it's music or whether it's sport, and then we can slip the reading and the writing and the counting and the numbers into it afterwards.
This one frustrated black man. Old Tack Shifter. The voice of a frustrated black man. Album material. Look, I'm fed up in this world I live in. No help gets given. It's designed so we fail and they're winning.
Pedro is run on a shoestring as a charity, but it really operates on the goodwill of its workers, who are all totally unpaid, like artist Andrew Wright and local mum Real Ajoka, once a Pedro girl herself.
So what's the difference between Pedro's now and Pedro's then when you were a youngster?
The way I can look at it from now, only thing I'd say is that back then Pedro had funding. It was a lot more structured, and children were children in those days, whereas now there's no funding, we're all volunteers. Children need a lot more guidance. They're technically off the rails, so we're pulling them back on.
What would you think the kids would do then if Pedro was to close or it wasn't here?
No Pedro. For starters, God help the shopkeepers in the local area, because that's where they're going to be standing out 24/7. When Pedro closed for a short period of time, the actual crime in the area increased, and I mean, that says it for itself.
Yeah, I'm fed up at these schools and colleges, giving us rules to kick us out so we don't know what knowledge is. I'm fed up of need.
As well as offering art classes, a choir, dance, boxing and football to the community, Pedros are just about to launch their own radio station that will be accessible via the internet.
So Sandy, this is Pedro's radio station. How long does it go in and what's happening in it?
Well, it's just recently got up and running. We're recording and doing shows of artists up and coming.
All local?
Yeah, based, most of it is local.
This is something that you want to do. I mean, you're volunteering to do all this.
Yeah, yeah, I am, man.
And so you're hoping that sooner or later they're going to put you into you have your own studio and do your own thing.
Yeah, that's the plan.
Okay, so who's going to record your first show then?
Well, now that you're here, we was hoping that you could do it. Play something.
Yo, it's 9 kilos, man. MBK, TF, square blocks.
Big up! I'm Liver Christie, and when I'm in the area, I only listen to Pedro Radio.
Look, I love the summertime. I'm on the summer vibe, trying to get my money.
So, this vibrant club has some big ideas and not much money. They hope in the future to get regular government funding because they have even bigger plans to keep their youngsters away from guns and knives.
We've also set up a work experience program here, where we take 4 people. And I will then be going into the law firms and the accountancy firms and saying to them, this is a Pedro child, take them on, give them 3 months work experience. Because another thing the kids are suffering from in London is because the whole world's coming to London. So a 17, 18-year-old goes for a job interview, they're competing with a French girl or they're competing with a German girl, and they speak 3 languages, 4 languages. So we're all falling behind. So we've got to try and rectify that balance a little bit.
I think doing more stuff like this, giving them a goal or something. Like if they go outside, they got something to do. Like they're not just going outside to walk around. So when I come outside, I know I'm going Pedro. But if they had everything like that in every area, I think that would be a step towards stopping it.
Every youth that we put on the right tracks, that's it. We're taking small steps, small steps, but we're getting there, as long as we just stick at it.
No one is naive enough to think that the work of the people in this one club is going to totally stop the young people from shooting each other around here. But you do get the feeling that within its walls, it is giving them the opportunity to realise that life is for living and not for taking.
Truly inspiring stuff, and Pedro's keeps coming up with new ways of working within the community. Indeed, just today it opened a weekly soup kitchen to feed those who are cold and hungry.